Hello there guys, welcome back to Younes Talks Football, welcome back to a brand new video. I hope all of you are doing well today. It's been 2 days. I've decided to not do any content because firstly there really wasn't anything happening and it was a good opportunity to be able to wind down, recalibrate and now go again because after that Burnley game I think we can all agree many people probably didn't want to hear about Chelsea. And to be honest, for the first time in a while, I really wasn't fussed in terms of actually coming on and talking about Chelsea. So I'm like, you know what? There's not much else going on elsewhere. We'll take a pause. Because tomorrow is a big one. And it's a big one for all the wrong reasons, of course. We are back into 12th. Now, obviously, some people will, I'd say half-rightly say, that don't worry, we've got 2 games in hand though. So if we just win those 2 games in hand, cool. Well, yeah, if, I just had £5 million sitting next to me, I'd be a millionaire. Fantastic. It's not how it works. While 2 games in hand are Arsenal and Tottenham. So we have to be careful there. Now, some people would argue the case, much like it is for Manchester United tomorrow, that when we come up against a bigger team, we play. Or we play better. We play well. As compared to when we play at Burnley and we shoot ourselves in the feet. And that seemed to be quite the direction of the press conference that took place earlier on with Mauricio Pochettino, which is what I wanted to focus on first. Because that press conference, funnily enough, I saw online, and like I said, I say this a few times, and I've said this recently a lot. Take what you see online with a pinch of salt now, in terms of like Twitter and all that. That's not the general consensus of the fan base. This is where I feel like people that only have access to what is online is what they deem the reality of the whole Chelsea fan base, when it's not true. When you're at the ground or you're talking with people that are there, that you go to games and you're seeing what's happening on the ground on a match day, sometimes it can be the complete 180 of what you're seeing online. Sometimes it can be matching what you see online. I think it's safe to say after Burnley, everyone's on the same page. It was a disgrace, that 2-2 result in that manner and in those circumstances. But the reception to Mauricio Pochettino's press conference earlier on was quite critical. And you know me, those of you that have been on this channel for a while, those of you that are new, welcome. But you know me. I say it the way that I see it. And I will tell you exactly how I feel. And I've not hidden the fact that I don't believe Pochettino is the right guy to take us forward whatsoever now. Even to where I thought at one time he could take us to, which is, develop a few young players and take us back to that 6th, 5th position. And then we'll go on from there and try and get someone better, maybe. We're not even going to do that. But his press conference, people online specifically were quite critical of. I have to be honest. I heard what he had to say and finally I'm hearing things that I wish I heard before. But that's not to say that all of a sudden, no, Pochettino, yay, no. But the points that he made in this press conference were valid. Were absolutely valid. And I'm glad that we're finally hearing it. What's crazy though, and this is where I have a problem with him. Well, it's the complete 180 of what we heard, for example, before the Burnley game. Or the prior games. Pick one lane. Pick one lane and tell us the truth. Today felt like he was telling us truth. Today felt like he was saying exactly how he feels. I'm like, well, you know what? Now we've got something to talk about. Because before it was so PR this and PR that. And even at the beginning of today's press conference, right? He was talking about Todd Bowley's comments. And this is also why I didn't do a video. Now it's come back to me. I didn't do a video yesterday. I didn't because, listen, I knew what I was going to come on and talk about. I'm just like, for once I was like, nah, I'm not going to bother. I'm actually not going to bother. Because it's getting tiring. And not tiring in the sense of I'm not going to mention it, but just tiring in the sense of flipping out. Every video is the same thing now. Like, I'm getting exhausted here. Like, just for the content's sake, can you please allow me to talk about something else? Todd Bowley came out and said what he said to Forbes. I'm just like, yo, these guys are not changing. They're not going to learn. They're just not going to. They're not going to. And then we heard what Pochettino's reaction was today in relation to Todd Bowley's comments. And he started that whole thing off with, the owners, they have the not the right. What was his word? Entitlement. They're entitled, right, to speak how they want to speak. In one way, incorrect. I'm sorry. I disagree. When things are the way that they are and fans have questions and we don't know where things are going and you stay silent or you decide to go through a different channel. Yesterday proved that Todd Boehly, not just him, Clear Lake are still hiding. At least we heard something. We heard Todd Boehly has a voice. So at least his voice exists. With Clear Lake, we don't. But he spoke via Forbes. Also, you have the energy to talk when you're on the front page of a flipping, a thing like Forbes, and they stick a microphone in front of your face and you do an interview and you're like, yeah, I'm going to talk now. So you can if you really want to. But when you get the CST and people within the fans coming to you asking for answers, you hide away. So, anyway, that would have been the whole consensus of yesterday's video, which I chose not to do. But with Pochettino, he mentioned that he's entitled to speak the way that he wants to speak. And like I said, I disagree. When it went past that question and he started to talk about the approach to the Burnley game, why I was going to say why we lost. It felt like we lost. Why we drew that game, the way that we played, what was the attitude and everything, that was the reason as to why we bottled that game twice. Well, I have to be honest, everything that he said is completely spot on. It's spot on. And it cements exactly why, personally, I believe in the solution that I tried to come out and tell you guys about. Players nowadays are soft, very soft. And it's true. Everything that he said in relation to the players being soft compared to 20, 30 years ago, where you could, as he said, you could kill someone in the dressing room, right? And they would react in a positive light. Why? Because back then they were men. Even at 20 years old, they were men. We've heard Jose mention this before. At 23 years old, Frank Lampard was a man. 23-year-olds now are brats. He's right. Completely spot on. 23-year-olds now are kids. It's crazy. 23-year-olds back in the day were men. And it's incredible because I can only remember what it used to be like for me when I was a kid and I used to look at someone that's 21. And in my head, whoa, full grown up. Oh my, the 21 was, oh, you're an adult. Like, you're an adult. Whereas now, I'm older, and I look at 21 and I think, no chance. You've not seen half of it yet, right? It's crazy the way that generations have so-called evolved. I would say devolved. I think we've gone backwards in that aspect. But it's true, the way that he was saying that you need to be able to know how to talk to players now and you can't go in for the kill and, there has to be a certain methodology to the madness. There has to be a way that you consult and you discuss and you have to end up putting your arm around and you have to nah. I'm sorry, no. In certain situations, yes. That's where I feel like, look, I have to be honest, in terms of how far into the season that we are in right now, Pochettino should, to an extent, have had a hold on that. But now we have to ask as to why he hasn't lost a dressing room yet. Because let's be honest, he hasn't lost a dressing room. When you see the players and the way that they are, you don't get the sense that, they turned on Poch. They haven't. But why? Because there can be not turning on the manager and playing for the manager in a good way, but there can also be playing for the manager in a bad way. And I think we are dipping into playing for the manager in a bad way. What do I mean by that? Players are comfortable. I saw the reports that were coming out earlier today and there was a big debate going on about, hang on, are the players actually are they too comfortable? I think they are. Why? That's not even on Poch completely. That's on the culture at the club. We've allowed it to be that way. We have allowed the culture at the club now to be, don't worry, it's fine. It's a project. We're going to wait. Don't worry. Everything will be okay. Everything is going to be all right. Right? Huh? That's what we've heard lately. Don't worry if you make a mistake here or a mistake there. Don't worry if we're 12th. Don't worry. It's going to take time. And on top of that, which is now what I alluded to earlier on in the video, the solution, right, is having some experience in this team. And not just experience in terms of get a 29-year-old in and it's fine. No, you can even be younger than that. But some players that have been around the block, that know what it feels like to be at the highest level, that to compete at the highest level, someone that's been around and worn the t-shirt. We ain't got anyone in the club now that's done that. All bar Thiago Silva, and we know about his situation. So we don't need to go back there. We can't exactly count on him, can we? You know, not through any fault of his own. But we know why Chelsea have done what they've done. But that's all we've got. Then we end up in a situation where a player like a Conor Gallagher, right, is the captain, and then he ends up in the tunnel, and we see what happened, which, to be honest, I thought was actually completely ridiculous, right? He's not a flipper, he's not racist. Can we just squash that? Come on. In fact, if you actually look at what happened in the tunnel later on, he had his arm around both mascots and he was talking to both of them, including the one that he so-called ignored. So it's just one clip being taken out of its context completely. When we are allowing someone like a Conor Gallagher to be the captain of the flipping team because there's no one else that can lead, there's a problem. I'm not saying Conor Gallagher's rubbish. Like I've said, I advocate for him to stay, and I think he'd be a good squad player. And I think someone that complements a good team with the attributes that he has, I think he complements really well. But is he someone that you actually depend on completely? No. But right now, it's all we got. We are in a situation where that's all we've got. And we haven't got any leaders, and we haven't got anyone that can dictate, and we haven't got any experience, and we haven't got anyone that's going to set any example to the players in order to wake them up or show them the levels and show them what they need to be competing with day in, day out in training. Much like back in the day where we had those JTs and Lamps and Didiers and all that, and JT said it for himself. When players come in, some of them just couldn't compete. They just couldn't keep up. So they left. They couldn't keep up. Levels. We ain't got even a grain of that. On top of that, at least if you had the old school mentality within the players of, don't worry, boss, I might not be there yet, but I'm going to give every single little thing I've got, and you've not got to tell me twice. At least if we had that, maybe you could depend on just developing young players and that's it, because you don't need to worry about the mentality. But when you got players in the modern day that are like this, and they're so, as he said, he used the right word, Pochettino, today, sensitive, very sensitive. That's just the generational thing that we're in right now. But it doesn't mean, I truly believe that it doesn't mean you have to get sucked into it. I think you can counter it and do things your way and try and show them that if you go down this route, you will have the advantage over everybody. It's not going against the way of society nowadays, but to use the advantage, if you have it, over everyone else, go in a way that no one else is going in. I think you can get a benefit from that and you can put yourself one step ahead of the competition. But we've not got anyone to do that. And when Poch is saying what he's saying, he's completely right. But on the pitch on the day, when we're comfortable, it's no surprise. Like I said though, he has a portion where I believe, listen, we're in April. You'd think that something like this would have been addressed now from July up until now. You know? That sort of thing should have been instilled by now, to an extent. To an extent. It should have been instilled by now where a game like Burnley shouldn't happen. And then it's all about ability and technicality and tactics and all of that. But it's crazy. Which is why I double down and I say, listen, this strategy and this model is suicide. It's flipping suicide. It's suicidal. It's suicidal. It's not going to get better. I'm convinced it's not going to get better. Unless if we actually went out and got 2 or 3 been there and done it sort of players that can come in and show some sort of level within this squad and in training. Just to try and elevate the levels a bit and to show them what it takes, both physically and mentally, to compete at the highest level week in and week out. When they've only got themselves to look to, there's going to be no developing. You're going to find stagnation, which is why I stress the way that I stress, because I believe the way that we're going, this is going to continue into next season. It's going to continue into the next season. So when people come at me and try and say, no, you've got to wait, we've got to be patient, trust me, I know that we've got to be patient. I know we're not going to get a result. We're not going to get a result if we're patient. That's the problem. I'll happily be patient if I know that there's something to be patient about. We ain't got it. We're turning in circles, and some people don't realise it. So let's wait and see what the reaction now is going to be against Manchester United. Now, Manchester United, in fact, talking about Manchester United, I actually need to look at the Man United news as well, because I've actually not checked that, and I'm going to get it up here just so I have... it's not even available. I don't even know the Man United news. It's not here. I can't even access it. I thought it'd be here by now. But the Chelsea news, well, it looks like Gusto is in fact going to be available. Chukwuemeka, we still don't really know. He's back in team training, but is he going to be fit and ready for the game? Doubt it. You never know though. But Gusto's back in. Chalobah apparently has been training, so he should be okay there, I'm guessing. But apart from that, everything else is pretty much the same. When we're looking at Manchester United, I haven't looked in terms of detail, but apparently, offensively, their midfield, everything looks great. But they've got problems defensively in terms of availability and some players that are out injured. Apparently. Who? I'm not so sure. I read a quote from Ten Hag talking about how he was saying defensively, there's a little bit of compromise going on at the moment. So they're probably coming into the game with the same sort of deficiencies like us, albeit you'd maybe say that with us, we're actually better off than we were before, because Chalobah's back now. Gusto's not out completely. He looks like he might be available. Cool. Chilwell's going to be out. He's got a problem with his knee. We know that. He had fluid taken out of his knee, so he's not free. Apart from that, we're good to go. So what's the reaction going to be? You'd expect, as Poch alluded to, that when there's pressure, the players know that there's something to react to, rather than just being disciplined enough to know that they've got to perform like that from Monday to Friday, week in, week out, and then on the weekend go out on a match day and do what they got to do. They don't have the ability to stick to that for an entire season. It's like they need reminding constantly. And when the going gets tough and we got pressurizing games, they switch on and go, oh no, you know what? It's a big game now. We've actually got to, so Man United tomorrow, I expect a better reaction than what we saw against Burnley. I expect a better attitude and body language compared to how we did against Burnley. But are we going to execute? I'm not so sure. And I'll be lying if I said I'm completely confident, just because we tend to somewhat play better in big games. I think there's damage done. And I think this Man United team are not great. But Man United, weirdly enough, are the sort of team that they don't do well on a match day, but they end up getting a result, whether they like it or not. Sometimes they just claw, and it happens. Now, except for the Brentford game and the way that went down, scoring in the 96th, Mason Mount, and then 99th, they concede, that's maybe given them even more of a reason to come more serious to the Bridge, because I feel like if they got that last minute winner, they might be coming to the Bridge maybe a little bit complacent, because we've got to acknowledge one thing. They've not lost to Chelsea. We've not beaten them since 2017. I know, it sounds crazy. We've not beaten them in the league since 2017. It's 2024. It's been 7 years. I'm sorry, but nah. And when I look at us and I see the way that we are, I'm like, nah, it's just not happening, is it? I wouldn't be surprised if tomorrow we all walked away with 1 point each. I just wouldn't be shocked. But let's see what happens. Now, if we're going to get into the starting 11, what would I do? Let's get into it. Here's my starting 11. Right, so let's start off in goal without question. Petrovic in goal, absolutely, got to be done. Now, defence, look, we saw what happened against Burnley. And if I had my way, I right now, I would drop both Disasi and Badiashile. But I'm going to drop Badiashile. Disasi, look, this is going to complement what I said earlier on. There's players that we are relying on, and it's what we got. That's it. That's what we've got. Like Gallagher, for example. Well, Disasi's another one. Disasi with Gallagher are the only ones that have played basically every game this season. They've not been injured. Disasi's been the most reliable player, played the most minutes. Physically, he's there. It's up here that sometimes he loses his way, and I just don't know. But that's all we've got. Now, Alongside him, I'd play Thiago Silva at this point. 100%. But he's not going to play. I'm telling you what I would do. This is me. This is strictly what I would do. But is Thiago Silva going to play? No. I'm convinced we will see either Badiashile or Chalobah start tomorrow. One of them. So I would go with Thiago Silva, but I reckon we'll see Badiashile tomorrow again. That's my prediction. Right back, Gusto. No complaints about Gusto. One of the few gems in this team that we've seen this season that have done really well. So fair play to Gusto. Hopefully he starts tomorrow. If not, we're going to see Disasi at right back. And then Chalobah will play alongside Badiashile instead. So that's probably what will happen. Let's see. Left back, Cucurella. Some love him, some hate him. I was very excited when he first came to Chelsea. I still think deep down in there's a player, but I'm concerned that he's not at the top level. He might be one of those players that operate just like Graham Potter. Can't manage a big club, but stick him in a club like Brighton and he'll do the job. You know, Cucurella, I reckon, may be one of those sort of players. He belongs mid-table, you know. I don't know. Maybe. But he starts tomorrow because Chilwell is on the bench. Sorry, not on the bench. He's injured. So he's not playing, which means Cucurella, our only left back. I would play Ian Maatsen, but, well, we know what happened there. Pure profit. Now, talk about pure profit. Gilchrist got a contract extension or brand new contract. Congratulations, Alfie. He might be going on loan, it seems, next season. So we'll see what happens. But congrats to George Benson for signing a new contract. Talking about George as well, by the way, don't worry about Shootout. There is a complete revamp and content coming. We're changing the direction because his availability has been very, very scarce. He's not been free, which means we've had difficulty trying to find time to calibrate and collab properly. But we are talking and we are getting things sorted and we are looking to restructure in order to get a time frame and a timetable that we know we can stick to completely. So keep your eyes peeled on Shootout, link in the description, especially running up to the Euros, because I'm sure we're going to be covering that. So make sure you guys are there. Enzo starts, and I'm a bit concerned about that. I have to be honest. Caicedo alongside him. Why am I concerned? Because he played 90 minutes. I'm hoping he's okay and he's not going to fall injured or something. Fingers crossed, because he came back very, very suddenly. Had one training session, played 90 minutes, lost, drew 2-2. Like we saw in that game, wasn't fantastic. The midfield, we were getting overrun in terms of the counter from time to time, and it was just... Anyway, he plays alongside Caicedo, and in front of them, Conor Gallagher, especially the Man United game. If there was a game maybe to not play Conor Gallagher, even though there probably wasn't any other option, because like I said, I would have played him alongside Caicedo and rested Enzo, but we didn't do that. If Enzo was going to play, maybe you could have had Palmer and not Gallagher. Anyway, Gallagher against Man United has to play. He has to disrupt. He has to be there to try and cut things off and to try and put some pressure on Manchester United and get them to panic. Because if not, if they don't panic, if you're not there to press them and you're not there to try and put some pressure on them, and you allow them to move, they find their way. And we experienced that at Old Trafford. At Old Trafford, we were absolutely dominated in its worst term. The goals don't reflect that, but United should have won 6-1 that night, and we all know it. So, for that reason, Conor Gallagher has to start. So he's there. In terms of the front three, listen, Mudryk on the left-hand side, again, not brilliant against Burnley. We all know that. Speaks for itself, but... Actually, you know what? I've just had a thing in my head. Oh, see, this is a problem with Chelsea as well, man. Flipping hell. Sterling came on and he had that assist, and it was a nice assist and fair play, and then he missed that flipping header from 2 yards out. I don't know who to pick anymore. I don't know. This is also our problem. This is our problem. It's just ridiculous. Anyway, Mudryk on the left. This is what I've gone with. My gut has told me to go with this because I still don't trust Sterling enough. Cole Palmer on the right and Nico Jackson up top, and Sterling to maybe come on and try and make a difference again. Maybe he's a good impact player. Maybe. I don't know. I reckon, look, my prediction, I reckon Poch will go back to type because it's the Man United game. I think Mudryk won't start. I think Sterling will start, and I think maybe Mudryk might come on later on. But everyone else definitely starts. Palmer, listen, Palmer's the one exception in this whole saga. Palmer is the one guy that I go, listen, right now, you are exempt from any sort of thing that we are talking about that's negative about this football club. You're exempt. stay there in the corner, have a drink, or you know what, not the corner. That sounds like I'm punishing him. Go out, go have a walk, go to, I don't know, go have a drink, go and have a nice gentle stroll, go and have a tan, go and do something nice with your time. You know, you're exempt. Go and enjoy yourself, because he's done brilliant. He's done brilliant. And if it wasn't for Cole Palmer right now, we'd be ruined. So, and obviously Nico Jackson up top, who I saw has got his hair coloured blue. See, this goes back to what we were talking about earlier on. I don't mind players doing what they want to do, right? This is the end of the day. But I have to be honest, it just shows, I would say, the lack of maturity to an extent. I wouldn't pull off a stunt like that, right? With the chance, without being sure that tomorrow and onwards is going to go super well. Because you're just giving more reason to probably get bantered. Now, like I said, I'm not going to banter him for that. He paints his hair colour, whatever colour he wants. But at the end of the day, like I said, it's just something that you wouldn't have seen before. It just plays a part, I think, in terms of mentality and where your head is and what you're actually focusing on, what you're concentrating on. That's, anyway. Let me know your thoughts. But that, ladies and gentlemen, is my starting 11. And as I tell you guys too, don't forget and hit the subscribe button. Make sure you're here tomorrow. We will be watching the game live. There will be the watch along for Chelsea versus Manchester United. We went to Old Trafford and we lost 2-1 in the way that we did. We were absolutely decimated from start to finish, and we can't have that happen again. I'd like to think at the Bridge it won't be that way, but I got to be honest, I don't see tomorrow going so brilliantly well. So I am going to be clear and honest with you. I think Man United are going to come with a certain... I think their attitude might be better than ours, weirdly enough. This is going to sound crazy. I think they might actually be more on it than we are. I also think they have more capabilities to execute than us. But at the Bridge, and moments can define games sometimes, I see it cancelling out. So I'm going to say 1-1. Is how I think it's going to end. And I do want to say this to wrap up. God forbid Mount scores tomorrow. I can't have that. No. Hell no. Hell no. If we get what we saw against Brentford, where he scores that 96th minute goal, that you think is the winner, and it happens at the Bridge tomorrow, I'm sorry. We got to liquidate. Like at that point, shut the doors. Like it's there. We cannot allow it to happen. We can't. That's one line that cannot be crossed. Because if it does, especially if we don't actually get anything from the game, that's where things will go really sour. So, listen, let's wait and see what happens. I expect Mount to play tomorrow. He can play. He's fit. He's ready to go. He scored the last game. I think he'll be rewarded. I think he'll start. It's going to be a real, for the first time, we get to actually compare face to face, head to head, him against what we got now. And let's see. Let me know your thoughts down below. Much appreciated. And I will catch all of you tomorrow on the watch along. Have a good one, people. See you lot then. Take care and peace.